Hey guys, just a quick tutorial on how to make a cylinder, just a basic cylinder. If you're interested in making some sort of like lantern, candle holder, a coffee mug, anything that has that general shape. And it's also kind of the basics of using a soft slab and constructing with one. So to make a cylinder, I like to find tubes. You can use paper towel tubes, you can use toilet paper tubes, mailing tubes. I'm honestly not even sure what this was from, but it's very nice and heavy duty, so it'll work really great, and it's nice and large. I wanted to make kind of a large, almost like garden lantern. I could maybe put a candle in or something, carve some designs into, and have light kind of shine through it. So that's kind of where I'm going with this one. But it's going to show you guys how to use the soft slab and use something to help mold a certain shape so you get those nice round edges, that kind of thing, okay? So I've rolled out this very large slab. Took some time and some patience, but you guys can do it if you are really interested. I would be happy to fire something large for you. We can go pretty large, so if you are interested in that, just let me know and we'll figure it out. So first things first, I do not want to just wrap my clay around this tube and let it become leather hard. What's going to happen is it's going to stick to the side of my tube, and I'll have a hard time getting it off because clay will shrink, and this is a pretty smooth surface. It might just stick. So first thing first is I'm going to wrap it with some newspaper or newsprint, whatever you can find at home. Anything that comes in the mail, like those, flyers that come from the grocery store would work just fine. So I am going to make it cut down to size, about the height of my tube, so I'm not dealing with a lot of extra paper. And then I'm simply just going to wrap my tube with some newspaper, okay? I'm going to tape it down with some masking tape so it stays put. All right, so that's going to make it really easy, because what's going to happen is when I wrap this with the clay and allow it to become leather hard, this newspaper is going to like slide off of this tube super easy. So it's just saving me a lot of headache later on. So I am going to line up my tube with my slab. And I made this pretty well equal with my tube. What you wanted to make sure is if it is longer than your tube, that it matches up with one edge of your tube. So that you can stand it up and set it on the table and it's not sitting on top of a bunch of clay. So just make sure it's kind of lined up with the edge of your clay slab. So I am going to start out just kind of pulling that slab up onto that tube, and I'm going to roll it. I'm trying to keep that slab on the tube so it doesn't start to kind of bow out. And then with my needle tool, I am going to mark where they match up. Okay. And then I can come back in here, trim that off. Got this nice extra slab I can maybe make into a coffee mug. Now what I want to do is I'm actually going to bevel the edges. I know I mentioned this before and I did not show you how to do it. If I roll this together and just try to blend the edges, I'm going to have like this kind of weird thick spot in my cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel those edges so that they line up really nicely. They kind of overlap, but they don't add thickness to the wall of my cylinder. And it doesn't have to be terribly precise. So, I mean, I'm sure there are tools to make it a 45-degree angle. I'm going to kind of estimate here. So if I give myself a line to kind of guide me, kind of just cut along there. Try to keep it at an angle. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, so we can come back in, fill in where we need to. So now to make sure that my bevels line up correctly, I actually need my bevel to run in the opposite direction. So I don't want to come over here and cut at this angle, because then I'll have two angles that kind of come like this instead of like this. They need to overlap like this. So if you look at this, when I put them together, it's kind of hard for you guys to see. So here's my beveled edge. I need this to actually go, my bevel needs to go this direction. So in order to do that, I'm actually just going to flip this over completely and do the same thing on the same side, because now it's opposite. It's been flipped. Gonna draw myself a guide again. Same deal. Try to cut at an angle. And come back in and clean that up a little bit here. All right. And you don't have to be this fussy. You could just blend it together and have a little lump in the middle. That's okay too. This is just me being fussy. But it doesn't hurt to know the process in case you're interested. All right, so again, same deal. I'm going to roll this onto my tube. Try to line it up so that it matches up with my other side here. All right, I'm just going to press it a little bit before I bring it up. So you can see my bevel edges are not perfect, but they do overlap. What I'm going to do then, since this is all plastic clay, I do not necessarily have to score and slip. So I'm just going to blend it together so that you can see a little bit better now, I think, how those beveled edges overlapped right there. So I'm going to come in, blend those together. Now when this becomes leather hard and I can pull this off the tube, I can go inside with a tall tool or a long tool to kind of clean up the inside edge too. And if you like how the edge looks, you can leave that as like a decorative thing too, or you can smooth it out. Totally your preference. A couple of tools you can use to smooth out this edge. Try the rib. That'll kind of help at least compress it while you're working on it. Get it nice and bonded so you don't have to worry about it kind of falling apart. And then you can always come back in with something like this wooden tool, and try to smooth out that edge. And this will just take some time to kind of disguise that. If you do feel like you can't get it to look like there's not a seam, always add more clay to it and then keep smoothing it out. I think this will be okay. I'm gonna fix this little crack up here. And once this is leather hard too, I'm gonna come in and clean up the top. And that's when I will also attach the bottom, the base, and determine if I want to put feet on it to make it stand up off the ground, or if I want it to sit directly on the ground. If I want to make a lid or any kind of top, all of these options you have. But once you know how to use the soft slab to make a cylinder, all the other soft slab stuff kind of clicks into place. It kind of makes sense. This is like the basic soft slab project so that you gain an understanding of how you can mold it around things, how you can work with it plastic, and then allow it to become leather hard and work back into it. So if you're interested in making something more sculptural, you would just form it how you want it, prop it up with any kind of supports until it becomes leather hard, and then you can remove those supports, and it should stand on its own when it's leather hard, but still have that soft look because you created that form when it was a soft slab. All right, so that's pretty good. It kind of looks like a tree trunk. Maybe I'll make it into a tree trunk. Anyway, you can see too, there's some kind of like cracking going on up here on the edges. That's going to happen. The edges are going to dry a little bit quicker than everything else. I can fix it later. I can try to kind of fill in those gaps now. Since everything's plastic, it doesn't hurt to try to get at some of that right away. And like I said before, this is the same process that you would use to make a coffee mug by hand. Like if you're not throwing it on a wheel, I would actually roll my slab a little thinner if I was going to make a coffee mug. A coffee mug that's really thick is actually kind of hard to drink out of. If your slab is like, this looks like, this is less than 1/4 of an inch, I would think. Actually, it might just be 1/4 of an inch. That would probably be nice and thin enough. I think this is thicker. This was from the slab roller, and since I'm doing this for a project that's going to sit outside, I figured the thicker slab will be better for that project. But for a coffee mug, you would find a tube that would be, once you wrap that slab around it, is that a good size? Do you like a big coffee mug, a small one? You would let it become leather hard. Trace your leather hard tube onto another slab to measure the bottom, attach the bottom to it, score a slip, and attach, and then you would attach a handle, and then do whatever decorative stuff you want to do to it. So basic cylinder using a soft slab. Wrap this in plastic, let it sit overnight. It'll be leather hard by tomorrow, and I'll be able to remove the tube. The tube is actually pretty easy to move right now because of that paper. And that paper should come out really easy too. So yeah, that's kind of the basic cylinder using a soft slab. You could even make rings, like if you wanted to use this for something else, not just a container. You could form this cylinder, and then once it's leather hard, you could cut it in half. You could cut it into different pieces. There's so much you could do with it. Get creative with it. Have fun. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks. Bye.